What is the creepiest thing you've heard someone say? Welp. Gotta die someway. Spoken by my 4-year-old niece when an ambulance passed our car with sirens blasting. I mean, she ain't wrong. A taxi cab driver during our conversation on my way to work: "You are such a beautiful lady. Good thing I know where you live and where you work." I was so shocked that I ended up inventing a story about a boyfriend being in the military. "I know exactly where you live. It looks like a nice house." Said by a customer who randomly thought telling me they knew where I lived would spark up a conversation with me. It did not. Luckily the person they were with read my facial expression of "what the actual hell?" and told them to be quiet. I was drinking water while in line at a 7-Eleven. And a shady A dude told me I must have really healthy kidneys and they might be worth a lot to the right people. I know it's all in how it was said, but that's actually pretty funny. Yeah. You almost cannot go to a gas station these days without some creep lurking around. I am a rather large man, so I don't have to deal with much outside of getting asked for money. At one point this obviously homeless dude came up and started his sob story pitch. I had been working something like 60 days straight with some night shifts mixed in. I had some 36+ hour shifts in there as well, and I was very short on sleep and short-tempered at the time. I was very ragged and probably sporting the Forrest Whitaker eye look due to exhaustion as well. I interrupted him after about 4 seconds. "Why does some guy have to ask me for SH every time I come to a gas station? Get the hell out of my face." He apologized and scurried off. Moral of the story is: be crazier than the crazy. Or be a large man. Your mom told me to pick you up. Mom used to pick me up from school. But she works a busy job, and if she couldn't be there, she'd hire a driver to pick me up on super rare occasions. Or if a coworker friend was able to, they'd pick me up. One day this guy drives up to where I usually wait and tells me he's here to pick me up. I tell him my mom is picking me up. He said she hired him to pick me up and said she told him what I looked like and that I fit the description. I am pretty young at this point, but something didn't sit right. So I ask if I could call mom to confirm. The guy is getting more impatient, saying I should just hurry and get in the car. Mom then rolls in her car right after, and I basically run into her car. I watch as the guy just drives off. Something very similar has happened to me when I was a kid. My mom would also sometimes send a friend to pick me up from school. We had a password thing though. Every time they would pick me up, I had to ask a security question, like what's my mom's favorite food, etc. Then one time an older dude came to my school and said that he was a friend of my mom's and would take me home. When I asked him a security question, he just took off without saying anything. This happened when I was like 9. "You're a brave lady being out here all by yourself," said to me in the laundry room at my apartment complex right after the light bulb burnt out, leaving me in complete darkness with a very creepy dude. I was 20 at the time, terrified. My little sister turned round to me a few weeks ago and dead-a told me that I was going to have a really bad nightmare that night and that I should keep a big bottle of water by my bed. Needless to say, I had a lucid dream about my skin catching fire, and I swear to God I felt like my skin was burning off. The water helped calm me down when I woke up. My uncle has been watching you through your bedroom window with his binoculars. My friend told me this when I was 15. She lived down the street from me. I woke up to my 2-yo screaming. She had a bad dream and kept repeating, "Baby, get me. Baby, get me." I told her she was safe, that no one was going to get her. Then she gets real calm, stares at the dark open door and says slowly in almost a whisper, "Baby, get you." Gave me nightmares for a week. Thanks, kid. Yep. This is a good enough reason for me to never have kids. This happened when I was 14. My dad and I went to hang out at the county fair. While walking around and looking at all the trinkets people were selling and whatnot, I kept noticing the same dude every time I turned around. He smiled and waved a few of the times. I didn't think much of it at time and thought he had me confused for someone else. But looking back, it was my instincts telling me something. We eventually reached a grassy area in partial shade and my dad asked if I wanted to rest and split a lemonade. I said sure. Once my dad was out of sight for a few minutes, this dude approached me from seemingly nowhere. He was at least in his 30s, if not 40s. At that moment, I knew something wasn't right. He asked me how I was doing and if I was enjoying the fare. I gave generic short answers. He kept stepping closer to me and I was stepping away. I wanted to turn and look for help, but I had a feeling that I shouldn't take my eyes off him. Then he said I looked cute and I immediately said, "Yeah, I'm underage." He smiled and said, "That's good. I don't mind." Chills. I told him to leave me alone and he said he wasn't doing anything. I said, "Bullsh." That just made him laugh and say he liked them feisty, without meaning to. Throughout his stepping towards me and me away, he was positioned to where his back was towards the general direction my dad left in. Well, once my dad bought the drink and stepped out of line, he saw what was going on and was coming towards us with his angry dad walk. I didn't say anything because F this guy. My dad got close and asked what was going on and I said the guy was hitting on me. To which the guy said he thought I was 18. He was backing away at that point. I snitched and told my dad what he said when I told him I was underage. Immediately, the guy bolted and my dad shoved the lemonade into my hands. Priorities. Chasing the guy down, he caught him, threw him to the ground, and gave him a few punches and kicks. People tried to intervene, but once my dad told them, they stood back and let it happen. The guy was able to escape and we did report it to the police when they showed up after being alerted about the commotion. Somehow, my dad wasn't arrested for assault. I don't know if it was considered protecting his child or if the officers were okay with it. The lemonade tasted pretty good after that. It wasn't the first or only time someone was creepy to me. It stands out to me because it was broad daylight out and we were at a fair surrounded by people. The guy also had to know I was with my dad, so I don't know what he was thinking. "Hey sweetie, are you lost?" 4 guys asked me one day, while I was walking around town at night, waiting for a bus to arrive in half an hour. Was just walking around with headphones on, to pass time. And suddenly, 4 guys walked to me. One of them reached for my shoulder, and asked that. Never has I ever been so scared before. Luckily, they noticed my response, stepped back and was like, "We just saw you walk by a few times, and wondered. Sorry for shocking you," and they were actually really nice. Edit, I was supposed to take a bus. A bit past 5 in the early day. I live in a hamlet outside town, so the only bus I could take to town left my hometown a bit past 4. So I had roughly 40 minutes to spend. I would consider 4 to 5 nighttime. But maybe I'm in the wrong. Edit, I live in Denmark. I was 20 at the time, 25 today. And they were on the way home from a day night, so a bit tipsy. But not drunk, I think. Don't know, am so hard to tell. Tucking my little brother in, parents were out. He's 5. Go to close the closet and he, out of nowhere, says, he can only see me if it's open. Me, what? He doesn't answer me and just stares at me. I open the closet, look through it and find nothing. It only has clothes. Anytime I ask him about it, he says he doesn't remember. I couldn't sleep that night. I go to a summer camp. And one year I remember one kid had a really bad problem with sleep talking. Well, muttering really. One night, we all woke up to him screaming, going silent, and then saying, "No one can hear you scream at the bottom of the lake." Last week my 6-year-old granddaughter said to me, "Papa, you're going to die today," followed by giggles. It was her idea of a joke. I was worried all day. I'm still here. Lol. This gay guy, the first straight had GF used to work with after I turned down his advances for the 20th time. Fine. I'll just force a few shots down your throat and then I can do whatever I want to you. Needless to say, he was uninvited from after-work beers that night. Was working at a preschool for a while. Ages 3 to 5. Most of the kids were normal for their age. Acting up here and there, but relatively normal. All of them except for Ian, our oldest this year. He was a little weird. Very quiet. Lacked social skills. And just had an unnerving oddness about him. One day I was cleaning up an art project we had the kids doing when Ian approached me with a sheet of paper with 4 numbers written on it. 4, 7, 2, 1. He hands it to me matter-of-factly and just stares at me. Best practice tells us to engage with the kid and ask about his picture. So I say to the kid, "Wow. Ian, these are really good numbers. Did you write these? Are these your favorites?" Ian looks at me weird and replies, "No. The man told me these are the numbers for the bomb." He then smiled, turned and ran over to play with blocks before I could ask him more questions. For some reason it just freaked me the F out at the time.